Just when everyone thought they had weathered the storm, reality struck, and it was messier than anyone could have imagined. It started with murmurs and subtle hints that something was off. Insiders said that Kendra was pulling back again, and Joc seemed like a man carrying a heavy burden. You thought that perhaps after all the infidelity rumors, clashes, and chaos, Yung Joc and Kendra Robinson had finally found calm. Secret to be clear, nobody anticipated it to blow up like this. It was not just a romantic argument. It was a loud, public, and intensely personal affair. The truth spread like wildfire, scorching everything in its path. What happened between Yung Joc and Kendra wasn't just a romance ending, it was a complete betrayal, and the worst part was that it involved someone Joc trusted like family. But before we get into that, let's go back to the beginning. Joc and Kendra's relationship was rocky, and rumors circulated about Joc's player for a while. Too many ladies, too many stories, and too much notoriety. Even though Kendra was the one attempting to stabilize the ship, she stood by him and forgave him despite the advice of others. However, behind closed doors, trust was a never-ending battle. Whenever it seemed like they were on firm ground, something minor would change and their world would fall apart once more. Lately, the signs were clear. Kendra seemed aloof in interviews, Joc stopped posting about her, and then came the night that changed everything. They entered a classy Atlanta lounge together, but the atmosphere was noticeably tense. Kendra appeared annoyed, and the Joc appeared strained. Those in the vicinity reported that the air felt heavy with unspoken conflict. This wasn't just any night out, it was a disaster waiting to happen. Then, in the middle of the crowded lounge, Kendra's voice broke through the cacophony and she looked directly at Joc, saying, "You're a joke, that's why he's better." Compared to you, the space froze. Phones rang, heads turned, and Joc's face fell apart. It wasn't a joke, rather it was a direct and honest reference to someone else, to whom Kendra was drawing comparisons. And that's where things get nasty. The Joc lost it. People were screaming, recording, and trying to make sense of the scene as commotion broke out, shattering tables, glassware clattering, and security surging in. Kendra stood there oddly calm, as if when the crowd thought the drama had reached its climax, the real bombshell came as security dragged Joc out. Someone else entered the scene, someone no one saw coming. Scrappy, Joc's longtime friend, his ride-or-die brother. The moment Joc locked eyes with him, it was like a switch. Flipped. He stopped struggling and stared at Scrappy. She had planned it all in such a way that it broke Joc. Dead hush as the accusation screamed forth, "You've been sleeping with him." Within minutes, the entire altercation was captured on camera, with fans rewinding, zooming in, and analyzing every moment. Scrappy froze, looking as though he had been caught in a trap, and Kendra simply grinned smugly and knowingly, expressing everything without uttering a word. Clips of the Joc's suffering, Kendra's cold attitude, and Scrappy's remorse in Atlanta went viral, and social media was inundated with memes ridiculing Joc as he was the city's biggest idiot. But underneath the jokes was genuine heartbreak. Joc wasn't just dealing with a breakup. He was also reeling from being betrayed twice by two people he trusted. Scrappy, the friend he never saw coming, and Kendra, the woman he stood by. According to sources close to Joc, he was a wreck that night, pacing his house, throwing his phone, and muttering to himself because he couldn't comprehend it. Neither Scrappy nor Kendra felt publicly humiliated, and he felt humiliated on a global scale. When Joc was spiraling, guess what Kendra and Scrappy were up to? They weren't. Lying low, not even close. Later that same night, they were spotted at another Atlanta hotspot, laughing and acting like the world hadn't just collapsed. Kendra was showing off Joc's chain, the very one he had bought her. The audacity was astounding. But this is where it gets wilder. Even worse, Joc was already acting behind the scenes. He had been providing Kendra with access to his accounts and funding her business endeavors, but the moment he saw her wearing that chain like a trophy for a success, he took action. He pulled the plug, and word quickly spread. He cut her off completely, stopped all payments, and severed all financial ties, and Scrappy received the same treatment. He had been supporting his music projects, studio sessions, and industry connections, but all of that stopped cold. He wasn't going to pout and fade away. Instead, he wanted revenge, not the trivial kind, but the calculated kind. Kendra and Scrappy were seriously mistaken if they believed they could waltz into a new romance and live happily ever after. However, the story didn't end with financial retaliation and public humiliation. Rather, it went deeper. Rumors began to circulate that Kendra had been embezzling Joc's money, not only for herself but also to finance extravagant vacations with Scrappy in Paris. Joc believed the excursions to Miami and Tulum were for their, as if that weren't enough, Joc's legal team discreetly got involved at first, looking through financial records to trace transactions, and allegedly discovered that she was living a double life. Hotel check-ins, flight receipts, and other documents started to leak, all of which were charged to Joc's accounts. Joc was unwittingly funding it all. Extravagant presents. Even spa days weren't for Joc because they were all connected to Kendra's covert adventures. The betrayal wasn't just emotional anymore, it was financial, and Joc was furious. Rumors circulated that he was thinking of taking legal action, not only to cut Kendra off but also to sue for financial misuse, emotional distress, and possibly even fraud. Joc was assembling evidence, and while some fans rallied behind him, others were still in shock, saw what was going to happen next. 2 Instagram stories landed like bombshells as the drama intensified. Scrappy tweeted a smug selfie with the phrase, "Loyalty is everything," while Kendra shared a black screen with the words, "Excuse me, after all the arguments over alleged adultery, you thought Yung Joc and Kendra Robinson had finally found peace. And turmoil, they were in a stable place." However, just when everyone thought they had weathered the storm, reality struck, and it was messier than anyone could have imagined. It started with whispers, which were subtle clues that something was wrong. Insiders said that Kendra was withdrawing once more, and Joc appeared to be a man carrying a heavy secret. Nobody anticipated it to erupt like this, so let me be evident. The truth blazed out like wildfire, scorching everything in its wake. What transpired between Yung and Kendra wasn't just the breakdown of a romance, it was a full-on betrayal. And the worst part was that it involved someone Joc trusted like family. But before we get into that, let's go back to the beginning. Joc and Kendra's relationship was problematic from the beginning. About Joc's standing as a player, an excessive number of ladies and stories. But behind closed doors, trust was a never-ending battle. Just when it seemed like they were on solid ground, something small would shift and their world would collapse again. Lately, the signs were clear. Kendra was the one attempting to steady the ship. She stood by him and forgave him even when the world told her not to. When they entered a posh Atlanta lounge together, the atmosphere was noticeably tense. Kendra appeared irritated, and the Joc appeared strained. Those in the vicinity reported that the air felt heavy with unspoken conflict. Wasn't your average night out. Rather, it was a disaster waiting to happen. Jokes stopped posting about her. Then came the night that changed everything. Then, in the midst of the crowded club, Kendra's voice broke through the cacophony and she made eye contact with